What's going on, guys? It's Zach here, bringing guys another fantasy football video. So I'm going to be going over the Thursday Night Football primer, where I'll go over the game between the San Francisco 49ers and the New York Giants. This will be the third video of this series, and I'll be doing one every single week, so make sure you guys stay tuned for these. I'm just going to go through position by position and sort of break down what the expected outlook should be for each of the players on each team, and sort of tell you guys which guys should be in your starting lineups and which guys shouldn't. Really fun making these videos. I think this game is going to be probably the worst Thursday Night Football game so far. We had a couple really good games between the Chiefs and the Lions, and then one between the Eagles and Vikings that were both fun watches. And this one will probably be a little bit less fun, a lot less points expected to be scored in this one between the Giants and Niners, and just not really expecting a ton of fantasy output from a lot of these guys, especially with the injury to Saquon and Ayuk being banged up as well. But should still be a fun game. It's always great when there's football on, and really excited just to sort of get into this. So yeah, with that, let's just get into the quarterbacks here. So starting us off with the quarterbacks here, I'll start off with the Giants side of the ball and go over Daniel Jones. I know he had a really great performance last week, and really it did all come in the second half. He brought them back from a 21-0 deficit to the Cardinals and ended up with a really high-end fantasy game. And obviously I think there is a world out there where on like a week-by-week basis you can be looking to stream Daniel Jones, and I think last week would have been a good week to do that against the Cardinals defense, which is not one that we're afraid of. But it's very different this week. It's the 49ers defense. The 49ers defense is one of the best in the NFL, if not the best, to be completely honest. And I just don't see a world where I'm comfortable starting Daniel Jones in this one. Saquon Barkley just recently got ruled out for the game. That means that we're going to be dealing with Daniel Jones being the focal point of an offense, and that's never really a good thing. Daniel Jones needs that running game. If you look at his splits in his career with and without Saquon Barkley, he's a completely different player. I just wouldn't expect too much out of him this week. They're probably going to get down early, so there is an opportunity for there to be some garbage time at the end of the game, sort of like what we saw last week, although it's not going to be enough for them to win this game. But I just don't expect a whole lot out of Daniel Jones. I definitely want to leave him on my bench or even on the waiver wire if you need to. For the 49ers, Brock Purdy, I know he's been really good lately, and I do think he's a good player, and obviously in two quarterback leagues, I think you can play him. The same would go for Daniel Jones in a two quarterback league. He's someone that's got to be on your lineups, but in one quarterback leagues, which I normally tailor these videos towards, I just don't see myself starting Brock Purdy in this one. I think that obviously he's got an opportunity to potentially throw two passing touchdowns in this one, and I think 202 is probably about what you could expect from him, but I don't see any real ceiling here. There's no world out there where he actually goes off like 304 in this game. This is going to be a team in the Niners that gets up early, it just leans on their running game. They can do that with how talented their running backs are and Deebo Samuel is, that they don't need to throw the ball around a ton in this game. The only way they lose this game is with a couple turnovers and mistakes. They know that, so they're not going to really put the ball in harm's way. Brandon Ayuk's banged up as well. I wouldn't expect this to be a game where the Niners try and air it out. So this just isn't the matchup that I'd be wanting to use Brock Purdy as a streamer in. So I'd leave him on your bench or again on the waiver wire in a one quarterback league. For the running back position, this one's actually pretty easy. On the Giants side of the ball, like I said earlier, Saquon Barkley's just recently been ruled out of the game, and with that being said, that means that I really don't want to play any Giants running back this week. Matt Breida should get the most touches in this backfield. He's been there the longest. He's the most familiar with the system, and honestly, he probably profiles to be the pass-catching back as well. Outside of him, they've got Brightwell and Gray. I just don't really expect either one of those two to be meaningful contributors from a fantasy standpoint. They'll probably each get 5 to 10 touches. Breida will probably get 10 to 15, and it's just going to be really ugly. You'll probably see Breida end up with like 10 carries for 28 yards and 2 catches. And with any of these guys, you're going to need a touchdown for them to pay off, and I don't know what their odds of scoring a touchdown are in a game where you're really expecting them to score less than 20 points. And it's just not something that I'd be excited about. Even if you're super desperate, I would need to be just bottom of the barrel scraping the waiver wire for me to want to play any of these guys, and I think you can do a lot better elsewhere. So I would bench every single Giants running back this week. For the 49ers, it's really easy. Christian McCaffrey is the clear-cut running back one at this point in fantasy. Super excited about him going forward. He's been a monster. He's being given like all of the work in this backfield. Elijah Mitchell is uninvolved in the offense. That was one of the sort of minor concerns you could have had about Christian McCaffrey coming into the season, and it seems like Mitchell's just not going to be a threat in this backfield at all. You got to start Christian McCaffrey. He's probably going to finish with 25 plus fantasy points again this week. Next up, for the wide receivers, on the Giants side of the ball, again, it's a position group for the Giants that I really don't want to be starting anybody from. Just none of them have really established themselves yet. We have just a big mishmash of wide receivers seeing the field. Their target leader on the season is Paris Campbell with 11. I think Darius Slayton has 11 as well. Neither one of those guys is worth a start at any point. I mean, they're getting 5-6 targets a week. They're not consistent targets. We don't know which wide receiver it's going to be from a week-to-week basis, even if it is one. We saw Isaiah Hodgins get in the end zone last week, and I just don't feel comfortable starting any of these guys. I do think that there will come a time where one of these wide receivers will separate themselves. We saw Jalen Hyatt get loose last week. He could potentially emerge over the second half of the season. Wan'Dale Robinson is still struggling to get back on the field, but when he heals up, he could be a guy that takes a lot of snaps as well, and there's just not enough consistency from this position at all for me to feel comfortable starting any of them. I have no problem stashing a couple of these guys. If you want to stash Jalen Hyatt or Darius Slayton or Isaiah Hodgins or Paris Campbell on your bench, you can do that, but they're just not guys that I want to trust in my lineups until I see these things sort of shake out a little bit more for the Giants. For the 49ers, it's pretty easy. Deebo Samuel's been extremely involved in this offense. He's got like a 28% target share on the season. He's involved in the running game as well. They're handing him the ball a lot more than they did last season, and he's just a guy that's got to be in your starting lineup, especially with Brandon Ayuk banged up. When Brandon Ayuk's banged up, it opens up a lot more opportunity for guys like Deebo Samuel and George Kittle, who I'll talk about later, and that means Deebo Samuel is definitely a starter for you guys. He's probably going to be like a wide receiver 2 this week. Brandon Ayuk, it does look like he might suit up in this one. He's dealing with that shoulder injury, and he just looked like he was in a lot of pain last week. He didn't really perform at all after that injury last week as well. So even though I think he's going to play on Thursday, if I were the Niners, I would personally hold him out. And as a fantasy manager, if I own Brandon Ayuk, I'm going to sit him in this one. Like I said earlier, I think the Niners get up early in this game. They're probably not going to need to throw the ball too much, and with Brandon Ayuk being banged up, I don't think they'll want to really utilize him too much. So even though I think obviously Brandon Ayuk's extremely talented, he could obviously go out there and make me look bad for it. I think that unless I just am desperate at the wide receiver position, I'm probably looking for a better option, and I'm looking to sit Ayuk this week. And last but not least, we've got the tight end position. For the Giants, Darren Waller is a guy that you probably have to start. It really has been a bit of a bumpy start for him so far this season. He did get off to a bit of a better game last week. I think he got 6 passes for 76 yards. That's very respectable for the tight end position, especially without a touchdown. He's obviously got a chance to score in this one. Like I said earlier, there could be some garbage time where this team's trying to come back, and Darren Waller could rack up 5-6 catches for 60 to 70 yards in this game, and he's probably got to be started just with the state of the tight end position. I don't think there's really no way you have a better option on your roster. So Darren Waller is obviously in your starting lineup, and then sort of the same thing with George Kittle. Obviously, it's been kind of hit or miss for him so far this season. We haven't seen a lot of production, but with Brandon Ayuk banged up, I do think Kittle should be in line for a bit of a better week this week. Normally what we've seen historically is that when one of these 4 options between McCaffrey, Deebo, Ayuk, and Kittle is out, all of the other guys just get more to work, and they don't really work in a 4th option outside of those guys. So I think George Kittle is in line for a pretty big workload this week, and he could easily score a touchdown this week. He's obviously going to be a must-start for you guys as well. So that'll do it for the Thursday Night Football primer. If there's anybody that for whatever reason I didn't mention you have a start-sit question about, or if you have any start-sit questions about the guys I did mention, feel free to let me know. I'd be happy to give you my opinion. On Saturday morning, you guys will be getting my Starts of the Week video where I'll go over every single matchup throughout the course of the weekend and tell you guys who I'm starting, who I'm sitting, and what I expect to happen at for each player. So stay tuned for that one. If you guys want to make sure you get that video, please do subscribe to the channel. Make sure that you'll get access to that video, and then that way you can just keep getting access to the videos we're putting out every single week. There are 4 videos coming out every week, doing a live stream every Sunday morning as well. And if you want to get access to all that, I'm going to be here all season to help you guys win your leagues, and subscribing to the channel is the best way to make sure you get access to all that. So with that being said, I want to thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you did like it, please do give it a thumbs up. It really helps with the algorithm, and I'll catch you next time. Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, check out these other videos here if you haven't. If you want more content, please feel free to follow me on Twitter at RealSteelFFB. I'll be more active on there as the season goes on. Thanks. Catch you later.